Hi everybody! In this video I'm going to be going through the notes for lesson 4.5, which is all about one solution, no solution, and infinitely many solution equations. It turns out not every equation has exactly one answer. Now, up until now, we've been looking at equations that only have one answer, but it turns out there are problems out there that don't have one answer. It is actually possible for some equations to have no solutions. There are never going to be any answers that work. Or even have infinitely many solutions, which means no matter what number you choose, it's always going to work. So right now we're going to learn how to tell the difference between problems that have one solution, which is what we've been used to up until now, no solutions, there are never any answers, or infinitely many solutions. There are an infinity number of answers. Let's talk about one solution. An equation where there's only one number that is going to make the equation true, we say that it has one solution. This is going to look a lot like the problems that we've been doing up until now. You'll notice that there are x's on both sides of this equation, so I'm just going to subtract my 2x to get my x's together. I get x plus 5 equals negative 7. My 2x's cancel. Then I just subtract my 5 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 12. So nothing unusual, you just get x equals a number. One important thing to note is that 0 is a valid number. If you get x equals 0, that still means that there's one solution. It just happens to be 0. Let's take a look at an example where we will actually find out that there are no solutions. So an equation that has no solution is an equation where no number will ever make that equation true. It doesn't have an answer. When we're doing this, all of the x terms are going to eliminate. So here's what I mean. When I go to solve this equation and I subtract the 3x on both sides to get my x's together, you'll notice that on the left side, the 3x's cancel and we just get 5. And on the right side, the 3x's cancel and we get negative 7. There are no x's left. And this is something that is not true. 5 does not equal negative 7. Never, ever, ever, ever. So we say that this problem has no solutions. Never, ever, ever, ever. Last but not least, let's look at an example where there would be infinitely many solutions. In other words, no matter what number that you pick, it will always be a true equation for all numbers. Once again, when we're solving, all of the x terms are still going to eliminate, but instead of getting something as an answer that is not true, we're going to get something as an answer that is always going to be true. So I'm going to start by getting my x's together. I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. And when I do that, my 3x cancels my 3x, so I just get 5. And my 3x cancels my 3x, so I get 5 again. 5 actually does equal 5. This is true. As a matter of fact, 5 always equals 5, forever and ever and ever. So I would say that there is infinitely many solutions. Infinitely many solutions. I like to remember that because it literally means there's infinite numbers of solutions. Every number is always going to work because 5 is always going to equal 5. Let's take a look at 2 more examples. So in problem number 1, if I just saw this equation, I would just try to get my x's together. So I'm going to subtract the 4x on both sides. When I do that, I get 10 and then negative 2x minus 4x is negative 6x. On the right-hand side, the 4x's cancel, and so I get 10. Then I would try to get x by itself. So I would subtract 10 on both sides of this equation. And when I do that, my 10's cancel. So I get negative 6x equals 10 minus 10, which is 0. And then I would just divide by negative 6. So I would get x equals 0 divided by negative 6, which is 0. Now you'll notice my x's did not all eliminate here. I still have an x, it's right here, and I got that the answer is 0. Remember, 0 is just a valid number. So I would say there is one solution to this equation, and the answer is 0. For problem number 2, I would start by trying to get my x's together. So I would subtract 6x on both sides. And when I do that, my 6x's cancel on the left. I just get 10. And they also cancel on the right. So I just get negative 2. Now I can already tell something weird is happening here. There are no x's left. So all I'm going to do is ask myself, is this true or not true? Now it turns out 10 does not equal negative 2. Never, ever, ever, ever. So I would say this equation has no solutions. There are none. It's never, ever, ever going to be true. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon for some practice.